It took us 285 games to get here, but we are finally on the doorstep of Super Bowl 60 with the Seahawks favored by 4.5 points against the Patriots in San Francisco. Coming up on the show today, it is the best of our best bets for Super Bowl 60. Jingles and I will be hitting leadoff. We will then be followed by John Middlekauff and Jake Butt. Before we get into all the action, make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button right down there. Now then, let us get right into the action for the final time this season. My best bet for the game, I'm going to go over on the total of 45.5. So two big reasons why the Seahawks offense is on fire right now. 72 points scored in two playoff games. Well, winter weather and poor quarterback play by the opponent has really altered the scoring during the Patriots playoff run. So the Seattle offense absolutely humming right now, guys. 41 points in one game, 31 in the other. They had some really high scoring outputs down the stretch run of the regular season as well. So I do think they are in great form, and I think they represent a massive step up in competition compared to what the Patriots have seen during the playoffs so far. So what have they seen so far? They saw two dome quarterbacks, Justin Herbert and CJ Stroud, just crumbling in those frigid, ice cold temperatures up in New England. Well, Jared Stidham showed us why he's a backup quarterback and not a starter. On the other side, though, I think we could really see this Patriots offense come to life in this game. Wasn't ideal for Drake May playing in those ice cold temperatures up in New England, nor playing in that blizzard or snowstorm, if you want to call it that, in Denver. Don't be surprised to see him return to MVP form in this game with normal conditions in San Francisco. And you might be thinking, really, Joe, against this elite Seahawks defense? Yes, really. The Seahawks defense is good, but look at their schedule too. They haven't faced a whole lot of elite offensive competition. When they did face elite offensive competition, it came against the Rams. And what did the Rams do? Just in the NFC Championship game, they dropped 27 points on them, 479 yards. They almost had 600 yards against them when the teams played back in December. And this Patriots offense has a really high ceiling for scoring 26 or more points 13 times already this season. So I absolutely think they will contribute to the scoring as well. Give me over 45.5. Next up from you, Jingles, this is a name we've been hearing a lot during the playoffs here. Ramondre Stevenson, what do you like from him?
We hit his over receiving yards in the wild card round. Then we pivoted to his receptions in the divisional. Then we went his over rushing yards in the conference finals. And we're going again. Ramondre Stevenson, over 50.5 rushing yards, minus 110. Time of the recording. 25 carries last game, season high. 90% of all running back opportunities versus the Broncos. If you go see Trevion Henderson, he's collecting dust on the sidelines because Ramondre Stevenson is the most important person to this offense, not named Drake May. But what about the defense? It's going to be a tough defense to run against. This is a guy who's gone over his rushing prop in 8 straight games. 324 rushing yards over his last 4 games since week 18. And in the playoffs, yes, Seattle is an elite defense, but he's topped this number. Denver, 8th EPA per rush, 2nd in success. Houston, 3rd in EPA per rush, 7th in success. And the Chargers, 4th in EPA per rush. He has done this versus loaded boxes, versus defense that want to just stack up and stop this run and make Drake May beat them. But he's gone through this, and we're seeing his tolerance climb and his volume go up. So 50.5, if this game can stay neutral, positive, we're in good spots here. And maybe we can get some actual footing late in the game like we didn't have in Denver where nobody was getting yards.
Yeah, that was a tough watch unless you are a Patriots fan. Okay, speaking of the Patriots, my favorite prop for a Patriots player, Drake May. Let's go over his passing yard total. It's in there at 219.5. This number is way too low. So do not be fooled by his numbers in the playoffs. This is a very modest number for May, considering he cleared this number in 14 of 17 regular season games where he averaged 258.4 passing yards per game. Now, he was really good through the air against the Chargers in the wildcard game. He threw for 268 in that one. The numbers were down versus the Texans, and the numbers were down in the snow against Denver, but obviously no winter conditions in San Francisco. So, like I said, I think he's going to have an opportunity to look like that MVP candidate that we saw during the regular season. Recent weeks have seen Matthew Stafford absolutely light up this Seahawks defense. He went for 374 passing yards in the NFC title game. In that game back in December, he threw for 457 yards. We saw Brock Purdy go for 277 against him through the air in week 18. Now, aside from that, have you seen the level of quarterback competition that the Seahawks have faced lately? Bryce Young, Phillip Rivers, Kirk Cousins, Max Brosmer, Jingle's favorite quarterback. We'll give him a shout out on our Super Bowl picks program. Cam Ward, Jacoby Brissett. Ward and Brissett actually threw for over 250 yards against them. Everyone's knocking the Patriots' light schedule. Take a closer look at who the Seahawks have faced here, people. And watch for May to get back into form and go over that number of 219.5. So I like Drake May in this game, and you like him too. How are you betting on him?
I love this prop at plus money. Drake May over 1.5 passing touchdowns, plus 130 time recording. I think this is good to plus 105. Maybe even money here. Joe, you alluded to the line of schedule this defense has played, and there was a lot of bad names on that list. And now you're giving me a quarterback, the most accurate passer in football this year, going from the cold, the snow, from New England and Denver to the sunny skies of Santa Clara. Negative game script. New England projected to score 20 plus points, and I'm getting plus 130 for 2 touchdowns in this game. You can't run versus Seattle in the red zone. It's a tough. They've only allowed 5 rushing touchdowns to opposing running backs this year. And if you follow, as much as I love Ramondre Stevenson, he's thrown up donuts in the touchdown board so far in the playoffs, despite going season high in rushing attempts. This is an offense that's going to have to pass and is probably going to have to score maybe outside the 20. Like I said, give me a guy who's got 2 touchdowns, 200 yards in 12 of his 20 games this year. Drake May, I think we're underselling this. And just look at what Matthew Stafford did to this defense last week. 3 touchdowns, 374 yards. Going to be a good blueprint for Vrabel and this offense to kind of figure out what to do. Drake May, plus 130. Love the plus money on this prop, Joe.
Okay, back to me, and I'm going to go right back to, on Kenneth Walker III, going over his receiving yard total with the number sitting there at 21.5. So he's been going off through the air. He has topped this mark in 4 of his last 5 games, where he is averaging 36.8 receiving yards per game during that 5-game stretch. Plus, I think a heavy workload should be expected, and this is a really good matchup for him. The Patriots allowed the 6th most receptions to the running back position during the regular season, so not a whole lot of competition in the Seattle backfield. We saw that in the NFC Championship game, and of course, Zach Charbonnet out for the season. And Walker kind of has a high ceiling for a running back in the receiving yard department. We've seen him cross 30 receiving yards 5 times since mid-November. He's on absolute fire during Seattle's most important stretch of the season. I think they'll continue to lean on him in this game, and he'll go over that receiving yard number. Okay, Jingles, bring us home. Mac Hollins, they love to show this guy walking into the stadium wearing no shoes or socks. I'm a bit sick of it, but you like him enough to bet on something for him in this game.
Yeah, I think Mac Hollins is going to get a lot of airtime over the 2 weeks running up to the Super Bowl. So why don't we take him over 2.5 receptions, even money time we're recording. He played more snaps than Stephon Diggs did versus Denver. But let's be honest, it was kind of a running game script. Hollins is in there to block. I get it. But he did end up finishing with 59% of the team's passing receiving yards. But what we're kind of leaving off here is what he was doing before he came off the injury. From weeks 10 up to weeks 14, this was a guy who had a 22% target share, which led all New England pass catchers, better than Hunter Henry, better than Stephon Diggs. This was a guy getting 7 targets a game, 42 targets in his previous 6 games before going down to injury. Add in the negative game script, add in the perfect weather. and had in a very small total at a very good price. Mac Hollins might be the busiest receiver on this New England offense. And who doesn't want to bet on the barefoot bandit? Mac Hollins, let's go.
Barefoot Bandit. Okay, that's it from me and Jingles. Now let's throw to our interview with John Middlekauff. All right, joining us now for the final time this season is our guy from the 3 and Out podcast, John Middlekauff. And John, a big theme for handicapping this game, especially if you're on the Seattle side of things, has been this light schedule that the Patriots have had this season. You go back to the regular season, only 3 games against other teams that made the playoffs: the Panthers, Steelers, and of course, the Bills. And their path through the playoffs, it's not like they went through Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar to get here. So how fair do you think it is to discredit the soft path that New England has had to get to the Super Bowl?
Well, there is no disputing. I'm sure you saw that graphic of all the coaches that got fired that they played. I do think this. They beat Josh Allen, and they could have beat him twice. I mean, they played well against the Bills. And the playoff run is still pretty impressive. I mean, to go on the road with a blizzard condition, definitely for a half, and dominate Denver on the ground the way they did, outcoach them. I mean, the one thing the Patriots have that if this was a team with random coaching, it's like, well, this guy kind of got lightning in a bottle. Like Vrabel's viewed as a big time coach. Josh McDaniels has coached, I would guess, 50 plus playoff games in his career as a coordinator. So the experience factor. Now, there is a little bit, I would say, parallel to the Commanders last year. This team's more talented, but no one saw this coming. Like, oh, they could make the playoffs. They have a good year. Now, Drake has more experience than the rookie Jaden Daniels, but it caught us off guard a little bit. I mean, I would have guessed 10-7, one and done in the playoffs, and they clearly benefited because I never would have imagined they would have won the division. But that Houston win was really impressive. I mean, that defense is elite. You know, that Denver win, I get it. They had their backup quarterback, but it's not like Bo Nix has been lighting the world on fire and, year round. So, and the Chargers, like you beat Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter. Like that's an impressive win. So I don't hold that against them. I just view them more, how high is their ceiling. And I think we saw the two teams play in the other game on Sunday night. Those teams are just better than the AFC teams, right? I think the Rams and Seattle are just better than all the teams we saw in the AFC this year.
Okay, so kind of a unique quarterback matchup, especially based on or compared to what we've seen in recent years. Mahomes and Brady were just a couple of years removed from seeing that one. So if it's a tie game going into the fourth quarter, which guy do you trust the most?
Well, it's got to be Sam. He's just experience to me matters. I'm a huge believer in the only way you get better at doing anything is by doing it. And he's been playing in the NFL for a long time now. And he's kind of seen it all. That's the other thing. This is a guy that has really struggled. And I think one thing that parallels guys having success in the pros coming out of college is like, how easy was it? Because if you just played at Alabama and you beat the hell out of everybody, that's not the NFL. And I think that's benefited Drake May, who went to North Carolina, who's not that good, right? Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, even Lamar at Louisville. Like these guys weren't on Texas, Bama, LSU. I think the same thing is true in the pros. Sometimes guys struggle and they kind of figure out what they need to improve on. They have their confidence doesn't wane. And now Sam, the previous week, you throw 12 completions and win a game 41-6. I understood people going like, is this really going to work? Well, he just threw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. And to me, the most impressive part was I don't think he made a bad decision. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. He took like his sacks were smart sacks. He could have tried to pull a CJ Stroud and he just hit the ground, on those boot action rollouts that if they blitz or the end doesn't kind of collapse on that side, that play is dead. And it happened to them a couple times and he just kind of ate it, which was smart. I think he was sacked 3 times for 25-yard loss. I actually looked at as a positive. I'm like, Sam's playing smart. So to me, Sam, just from an experience factor, I have to give him the nod. And I think from a skill set standpoint, Drake's a better athlete. But like there was a reason. Both guys were the 3rd pick in the draft, right? They're big arms. Sam can sling it down the field. Like arm strength's never been Sam's problem, right? And even Drake, it's hard to totally judge him in the blizzard, but I don't view him as like Drew Brees accuracy wise. He slings it. Now he's a great deep ball thrower, but I view him. He probably has a higher ceiling than Sam because he's so much better, so much faster. But they're kind of similar players.
Okay, John, let's get to the game picks. Seattle opened as a 3.5 point favorite. It's up to 4.5 now. I don't hear a whole lot of people outside of Patriots fans making a case for the Patriots, and you're not going to either. You like Seattle to win and cover the spread.
Yeah, I want to read you a stat a buddy from Seattle who works in college football just sent me. The Seahawks defense this year, including the playoffs, they blitz at like the 5th lowest in the league. Yet they get pressure as the 4th highest. So they don't need to blitz to get pressure. But when they blitz, they hit home almost half the time, which is the 3rd highest in the league. And so their ability to get pressure with their front four is high end. And while they don't blitz a lot, when they do, they dominate at the blitz. And Drake May, his passer rating by quarterback, like he's really good against pressure. So something kind of has to give, right? Because we know Seattle from a team speed standpoint, from a pressure standpoint, is unreal. And, Drake has been excellent against that, which usually MVP type quarterbacks that are in the mix for that award play well against the blitz. I mean, you can get explosive plays because you get one-on-one situations, but I'm just giving the nod to Mike McDonald in this game. It's why I like Seattle. And I just think it will go down as it's not surprising once we're here because both these teams, I mean, one was the 1 seed and the other was the 2 seed, right? But if I would have told you this in August, that's where people go, is this the most surprising Super Bowl ever? Well, it depends at what point you would be surprised. Because when we're sitting there over Thanksgiving dinner, it was clear that these teams' records were going to be really good. Right now, if we were talking you and I at the end of July, you'd have been like Patriots, Seattle. I mean, the Seattle, one of my favorite bets this year was Seattle as a 5-1, getting 5-1 odds to win the division. And I thought basically the Rams and the Niners were essentially like 1-1. I'm like, you guys understand, the Niners were coming off a 6-win season. And the Rams last year, while they won the division, they won 10 games. So this was not a team that had just won 15. This wasn't the Eagles last year, right? So it's Seattle won 10 games last year. They just happened to miss the playoffs. So if I go, well, I think they're going to be better. We all agree they had a pretty impressive draft. Now, Sam Darnold, I think people freaked out and jumped off the Titanic for the hype machine on him because of the last 2 games, where it's like, well, over the course now, if you take last year and this year of how many plus games, it's almost like 40. Those couple games are kind of outlier situations. He had a lot more games like he did against the Rams, even though ironically he hadn't played well against the Rams, but against other teams he does. And their defense to me this year was just, when you have an elite defense and your offense just plays solid, you can win a Super Bowl. We talked about that with the Texans. If CJ just would have been like, you know what, I'm going to play like Alex Smith or Ryan Tannehill. Who knows? They could be playing right now. They could be in the Super Bowl. But he's like, nope, I'm going to play like I'm Patrick Mahomes. It's like, well, that ain't going to work, buddy.
Yeah, had he only thrown 2 interceptions instead of 4, maybe.
Exactly. And if you look back at Mahomes in 22 and 23, where I think everyone's on the same page, those teams aren't as dominant, from an offensive standpoint as the 19 team that beat the Niners. They were much more of like more defense, more like big plays in the right spot, but they were not really a sexy team the last couple of years. He had, I think, 1 turnover or 2, a fumble and an interception over 7 playoff games in 22 and 23. He just he kind of played like a game manager, which I don't know, led to Super Bowls. So to me, if Sam can kind of balance that, I think Seattle could win this by double digits. Like it would not shock me. Because one, their defense, McDonald has proven, even going back to that game where Mahomes upset him on the road. I had a lot of money on the Ravens in that game, which
I remember.
It was Lamar and the offense. They were atrocious. When the dust settled, it's not like they lost 30-10. They lost 17-10. So if I would have told you, you get Mahomes in his prime and Andy Reid in their Super Bowl dynasty, and you hold them to 17 points at home in a playoff game, you expect to win, right?
Absolutely. Okay, John, we asked you to come with a prop, your favorite prop for the game. None of this dinky -110 stuff. You're taking a big swing with something unique, so break this one down for us.
Well, I just looked. Kayshon Boutte, he had 6 touchdowns this year. And one thing that emerged throughout the year is Drake May's deep ball is pretty elite. I mean, that kind of put him in the MVP category, right? Because that thing goes up and he's like hitting guys in the hand. And Booty is averaging almost 17 yards a catch. This is during the regular season. He had 6 touchdowns. Now, it's hard to judge in the last game. Their connection was clearly off. But he had a big touchdown earlier in the playoffs. There is a prop that you can get 15-1. It's on DraftKings right now, actually, that a 40-plus yard touchdown. And I view it twofold. One, their offense is kind of predicated on some deep shots when they're not running the ball. And two, if I tell you that Seattle is up, well, what is that going to force New England to do? Throw the ball. So this, to me, I love if I can get somehow Seattle up like 17-3 at one point in the first half, and New England is just battling back. And here's the other thing. The Rams have shown you can have success outside on these guys. Like their one weakness, not that their corners are bad, but like it's kind of like basketball. Good offense typically beats good defense, unless you're Darrelle Revis or Deion Sanders. And Seattle's corners are not that. So I would expect them to take some shots. Booty has really established himself as kind of an explosive guy that, Drake May likes. And honestly, a couple years ago, he was kind of an interesting name coming out of LSU. He's kind of become like a pretty interesting NFL player. So I just think that the value on that, given how New England is going to have to play if you assume they're down, I kind of like that. So I'm going to go with that prop because, like you said, it's heads or tails, like just some of the basic. I like big odds, so I gamble on golf. I like getting a guy that's 40-1 to win the golf tournament. Those are the odds to get my juices flowing.
Gatorade color, you got to go clear or water. You can always get good odds on that. My logic on that is I can almost guarantee there's going to be water on the sidelines, but you can't guarantee that for every single color of the rainbow of Gatorade that is there. So that's usually one I bet on and lose every season. Maybe this will be the year, though. Okay, John, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining all season. Best of luck with those bets and enjoy the game. All right, joining us now for the final time this season is one of our favorites around here, former Michigan Wolverine and Denver Bronco, current analyst at the Big Ten Network, our guy, Jake Butt. Jake, how you making out today?
Yeah, the Denver Broncos one stings a little bit, Joe, because what a missed opportunity. But, the Patriots are back. Looks like they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And I'm fired up for the Super Bowl, man. I'm happy for Sam Darnold. That was an awesome game. And, Jay Harbaugh is the Seahawks special teams coach. He was my tight end coach back at Michigan when I won the Mackey.
Cool.
Mike McDonald was obviously the Michigan DC. I got a great relationship with him. So happy for both these teams, man. It's going to be an awesome Super Bowl.
Okay, so let's get into this game. The Seahawks are favored by 4.5 points. They open as a 3.5 point favorite. That got bet up. I don't hear a lot of people making a case for the Patriots, but we see underdogs win in the Super Bowl all the time. So fill in the blank for me here, Jake. The Patriots win if.
Let's start with what you're saying. I think if both teams play their best game, it makes complete sense. I think the Seahawks have a better offense. Darnold is playing like the better quarterback. I like the Seahawks defense. I think both special teams are capable. I'd give the slight edge to Seattle's special teams. So sure, it makes sense to me why, if it's a perfect game, the Seahawks win. But we know football is not perfect. I think in order for New England to win, we need to see a regression of Sam Darnold. And here's why it's possible. I'm happy for him. Great job. You stood toe-to-toe with Matt Stafford. You played the best game of your career. That doesn't mean that it's impossible for him to regress in the Super Bowl. And here's also why. The Patriots have 3 top 25 graded cornerbacks in the NFL per PFF. So they have a great secondary to match up with JSN and the other Seahawks receivers. Of course, Kenneth Walker's been having a great postseason, but the Patriots have a top 10 rushing defense in terms of yards per game while being 24th in loaded box percentage. So they just win by playing gap sound defense, tackling well, and then of course their secondary can match up in man coverage on the outside. So I absolutely do think this is possible. And I'd say the last thing is, I think the way Darnold played in the NFC Championship could work against him. Maybe Kubiak and the Seahawks say, hey, man, let's win this game on the back of Sam Darnold. That's still risky, whereas the Patriots are saying, rightfully so, hey, we got to protect Drake May a little bit. Let's run the ball. Let's have a conservative game plan. If things work out the way I'm saying here, that could end up helping New England. if they're able to force some turnovers from Sam Darnold and if Drake May is able to play clean.
Okay, so just like any other game, quarterbacks are a big focus here. Both May and Darnold, they're number 1 and number 2 on the Super Bowl MVP odds board. So let's remove them from the discussion. Which individual player outside of the quarterbacks on each side will be the most important in this game?
So I'll start with the Patriots, and I'd say it's an individual group, and it's going to be the offensive line group for 2 reasons. They've struggled to protect Drake May, especially the 2 rookies on the left side of the offensive line. We know this New England defense is or the Seahawks defensive line is capable. They're full of great athletes. Man, this game is about protecting Drake May. 1, you need to run the ball, easier said than done, and 2, you need to protect Drake May. I do think there's something to it. Maybe his shoulder is a little beat up after that run. So, man, I'm looking at the Patriots offensive line. They have to play their best game of the season in order for the Patriots to get it done. And then as far as the Seahawks go, it's going to be Kenneth Walker. He's been the bell cow all postseason. He's been more involved in the passing game. He has to be explosive. He's got to win the game on the ground so Sam Darnold can get into play action and get one-on-one matchups with JSN and those other receivers. I know JSN is an easy pick. I just think he's going to get his regardless. But against a good Patriots rushing defense, Kenneth Walker's got to play lights out to take some pressure off Sam Darnold.
Kenneth Walker over 21.5 receiving yards is my favorite prop for the game. That. Okay, let's get into some of your picks here. Seahawks favored by 4.5. Do you like them to cover that, or do you think it's too many points?
You know, this is what I'll say. I'm going to place a few different bets here. Okay. Again, perfect situation. You know, if I'm sprinkling money on just one team, I would take the Seahawks to cover here. But I have a different strategy. I say whichever team you bet, I would parlay it with the quarterback being the Super Bowl MVP. I think it's just an easy way to get odds. It's just historically, whatever team wins, the quarterback ends up winning the MVP. So if I pick the Seahawks, I would pick Darnold to win the MVP. I think the story there just makes too much sense. If it's New England, I'd pick Drake May. But my strategy would be going back to my picks earlier. This is where I'll bet the most of my money. I'll take the Patriots plus the points. I'm going to include Darnold to throw an interception, and then I'm going to include the Patriots to score a non-offensive touchdown, whether it's defense or special teams. That's going to be my play of the day that I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on with the parlay.
So taking a big swing here with one of your favorite picks of the day. Okay, Jake, great spot today. Thanks for joining us all season. It's been a blast talking ball with you. Enjoy the game. Best of luck with your bets. And I guess we'll catch you ahead of the draft.
Man, it's going to be a long time, Joe, but we'll enjoy this one, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.